Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and investigate what is easily one of the most fascinating ancient celestial puzzles we've ever discovered. We're talking about an artifact that has sparked fierce debates, inspired some literal international heists, and fundamentally challenged how we understand early astronomy. This isn't just some old carving, it's a forensic time capsule.
The astronomer John H. Rogers hit the nail on the head when he called this the only complete map that we have of an ancient sky. He's referring, of course, to the Dendera Zodiac. So what we're investigating here is the legacy of an incredibly intricate Egyptian bas-relief sculpture. Originally, this massive sandstone slab didn't just sit behind glass in a museum. It was suspended high above, decorating the ceiling of an Osirian chapel inside the great Hathor temple at Dendera. It's this stunning circular map of the stars that has essentially frozen the ancient cosmos right into solid stone.
Conceived around the late Ptolemaic period, this unique sky map has captivated and, let's be honest, completely baffled scientists for centuries. The timing here is absolutely crucial. The chapel itself was started in the late Ptolemaic period, which was this era where Greek and Egyptian cultures were heavily intertwined, right? But then its outer portico was added later by the Roman Emperor Tiberius. This wild blending of eras is exactly what made this piece so incredibly difficult for early historians to wrap their heads around.
Section 1. Decoding the sky disk, a celestial map. Now, to really decode this artifact, we have to look past the beautiful artwork and see the deeply functional science beneath it all. The disk is supported at its edges by 4 women and 4 pairs of falcon-headed figures, all arranged perfectly at 45-degree angles to one another. It's like they're physically holding up the crushing weight of the sky. Dead center, the map focuses on the North Pole star, but with a fun twist. Ursa Minor is actually depicted as a jackal. From there, the inner disk radiates outward with the constellations of the zodiac, and that outermost ring is dedicated to 36 special figures known as deacons. What's really fascinating here is the massive cultural collision it represents. On one hand, you have familiar Greco-Roman signs that we'd easily recognize today. The ram for Aries, Taurus the bull, Scorpio, Capricorn. But sitting right alongside them are uniquely Egyptian forms. Take a look at Aquarius, for instance. Instead of the traditional water bearer, the Egyptians showed Aquarius as Hapi, the highly revered god of the Nile flood, holding 2 gushing vases of water. It's this brilliant, localized adaptation of global astronomy. So that outermost ring I mentioned, the inclusion of those 36 asterisms is a real game changer. The number 36 is totally vital here. These represent the deacons, and they served a dual purpose for ancient timekeeping. Every night, they were used to track 36 40-minute Egyptian night hours, and by day, they tracked the 36 10-day weeks making up the Egyptian year. That left just 5 extra days at the end of their calendar to round things out. So this wasn't just a pretty picture, it was a functioning, highly precise celestial clock.
Section 2. The Gunpowder Heist, Stolen with Explosives.
All of this leads us to a pretty glaring question. If this thing functioned flawlessly for millennia on a temple ceiling in Egypt, how exactly did it end up sitting in a museum in France? Well, the answer involves a dramatic and honestly a highly destructive heist. The artifact was first documented in 1798 when an artist named Vivant Denon sketched the ceiling during Napoleon's campaign in Egypt. He published those engravings in 1802, which totally alerted Europe to its existence. Fast forward to 1821, a French antique dealer named Sébastien Louis Saulnier desperately wanted the Zodiac. So he commissioned a guy named Claude Le Lorrain to violently blast it out of the ceiling, literally. Le Lorrain used saws, jacks, scissors, and actual gunpowder to detach this massive stone. By 1822, King Louis XVIII had it installed in the Royal Library in Paris before it finally moved to the Louvre in 1922.
Section 3. The Dendera Affair, a fierce controversy. Naturally, once the Zodiac arrived in Restoration Paris, it ignited an absolute firestorm of scientific controversy regarding its age. Top scientists of the day wildly disagreed with one another. Their estimates spanned thousands of years. On one extreme, the mathematician Joseph Fourier used astronomical calculations to claim the Zodiac dated way back to 2500 BC. On the completely opposite end of the spectrum, the famous linguist Jean-François Champollion was convinced it was a much later Roman-era religious piece, dating it to the 4th century AD. Meanwhile, Georges Cuvier tried to kind of split the difference, estimating it was from around 1230 to 147 AD based on comparisons with other monuments. Basically, nobody could agree on when this sky was actually mapped.
Section 4. Cracking the Code, Astronomical Forensics.
The mystery of its true age was finally solved decades later when researchers had a massive breakthrough.
They stopped treating it merely as religious art and started treating it as a precise forensic star map. Modern astronomers Sylvie Covile and Eric Oberg are the ones who finally cracked the code. How'd they do it? Well, they traced the specific arrangement of the 5 planets that were known to the ancient Egyptians. They realized that the exact configuration of these planets shown on the zodiac only happens once every 1,000 years. But to narrow it down to the exact day, they had to cross-reference this rare planetary alignment with 2 highly specific eclipses carved right into the stone itself.
First up, they looked at a very striking symbol. They discovered that an image of the goddess Isis holding a baboon by the tail wasn't just some abstract mythology, it was a literal hard data astronomical record. The baboon represents the god Thoth, and this specific imagery locked within a circle was a direct recording of a solar eclipse. And not just any eclipse, one that occurred exactly on March 7, 51 BCE. And right beside it, they found a second forensic clue, an Eye of Horus locked in a circle. Oberg and Covile matched this specific icon perfectly to a lunar eclipse that took place on September 25, 52 BC. By combining that super rare, once-in-a-millennium planetary alignment with these 2 exact eclipses, they definitively proved the zodiac was conceived in exactly 50 BC. Boom, mystery solved.
What this brilliantly illustrates is that the Dendera Zodiac is so much more than just a decorative ceiling. It's a flawless snapshot of the ancient cosmos. It proves the staggering precision of early astronomers. I mean, they were able to track, document, and literally carve a map of the sky that is so perfectly accurate we can read its timestamp more than 2,000 years later. It's just an absolute marvel of human ingenuity.
But this explainer doesn't just end in the past. It brings us right up to the modern day. With a recent 2022 petition spearheaded by Egyptologist Zahi Hawass demanding the artifacts returned to Egypt alongside the Rosetta Stone, we're really forced to confront its violent removal by gunpowder back in 1821. It leaves us with a pretty heavy final thought to ponder. If a map of the stars belongs to the whole world, but the stone itself was violently torn from a temple, where does this incredible piece of ancient science truly belong? Take a second to think about that, and keep exploring the stars.